Hello tanks and tankettes, and welcome to a view replay, this time courtesy of Sergeant Frosty, and he's going to be showing off his BatChat 25 AP. This is a machine I've not featured on the channel before, and its predecessor, the Lorraine 40T, I think I only featured that once, although I've probably got some replays buried away in my inbox, but not a huge number. It was never a tank I got sent a lot of replays for, and I've actually had more replays submitted both through email and my replays portal for this thing. So I don't know if this means it's more popular than the Lorraine was. I mean, I know the Lorraine had its fans, or maybe it's just a bunch of people played this when it came out as the replacement, and you know, I probably had a rash of games at the time, but I still get sent replays, so maybe it just is overall the more popular machine. It's certainly the smaller machine. I think the gun's basically the same as the Lorraine had. I mean, it's the 5100 gun on a medium platform, but it is a lot smaller than the Lorraine. So that right there is a big bonus, because the lorry was not a small target, especially when you were trying to get to spots like this, and somebody would end up putting a shot in your fat behind because you just couldn't quite get all of your tank out of the way quick enough, if that makes any sense. Maybe that was complete nonsense, I don't know. This is like my 6th attempt at recording this video, so my brain's going funny places at this point. Anyway, first clip up, he actually spends a couple of shells on firing at a target he couldn't see, which is always a risky proposition in a French autoloader, especially just because you don't have a lot of shells. Any autoloader, it's a bit of a risk just with the reload, but with the French autoloaders you also don't have a huge amount of ammo to waste, so those shells may or may not have hit the AT-7. We don't know, but he had at least 2 hits that we saw and 1 bounce, so that wasn't a terrible first clip. He also was able to use that last shell to get some damage as well. And there's always, when you're down to that last shell, there's always that, you know, that thought, do I reload or do I hang on to this last shell and hope that I can hit something? And in that case, he was able to successfully get some damage out of it. But there are other times when you'll be just hanging on, just looking for something to shoot with that last shell, and then eventually it becomes so long that you think to yourself, I might as well have just reloaded and had the full clip. Anyway, he's reloaded again, and once more looking for something to try and hit. They're looking sort of evenly matched in the middle right now, except, well, the Challenger's just about to die, the Tiger is very low health, and the FCM has dropped down, and there is a T-34-1 up on the B line. Not entirely sure why, and there is also a Waffenträger in the usual tank destroyer spot on this side, but Frosty clearly doesn't fancy his chances there alone. I mean, the FCM dropping down, I couldn't tell you why they did that, and it's basically going to be their doom. And Frosty's decided he does not like those odds, and in an autoloader, in any autoloader, you've always got to have a plan of retreat. He could have stuck around and emptied his clip into something, but then would he have been able to get away? Because with any tank, you know, you're only dangerous when you have a shell available to fire, and in the case of an autoloader, I mean, I used the initial the first clip at the start and looked at the timer and figured he's got about a 44-second reload. I don't know what that means in terms of equipment, but yeah, that's a long time to be without any offensive capability. So he takes a guess. I mean, he could see that T-54E1 was moving out from behind the rock anyway, but he takes a guess as to exactly when he was going to appear, and guesses correctly, so that's rather a useful kill. That thing is dangerous to really any thinly armoured tank, because it doesn't have a particularly high amount of penetration. I mean, this has got, what, 230 average pen? But even with, God, what is it, like 190 on the T-54E1, it can get the shells out really quickly, and it's 400 damage per shell. So if you don't have the armour, then that thing is very, very dangerous. So just French autoloader things, or just autoloader things generally, a pair of very low health enemies that were easy to kill with 1 shell apiece. And there's artillery. There's 4 arty on the enemy team, by the way. I should have mentioned that. One of whom is the tier 5 French premium arty, who was paired up with a pair of premium the tier 8 Walker Bulldog. So at first glance you might have thought that was a troll platoon, but with that artillery it really isn't. Or a fail platoon rather. No, troll platoon is what it is, fail platoon is what it isn't. Yeah, I know which words I mean, it's just they don't always come out in the right order. So we're getting down to it now. He's lost all of his allies bar the Waffenträger. He's reloading himself, and he's not in a position to directly support that Waffenträger. He could charge across the open and try and get to him, and maybe he could have, and instead he takes this very circumspect roundabout route. It might be he was concerned about artillery, which is definitely a valid concern right now. But if he'd stayed where he was in order to be able to maybe support that Waffenträger, he possibly, well, he could have clipped the T-43 easily. It might be he was worried about the other BatChat, who isn't a one-shot unless he gets super lucky. Just, you know, 360, you'd have to roll quite high. And by the time he's gone all the way around here, the Waffenträger is dead. So I don't know about that as a move. That might have been overly cautious under the circumstances. He gets here in time to put 1 shot into the 25 AP though. And while they know where he is now, but he's in a decent defensive position. He's also got 5 shells in the clip, so they've got all the artillery firing at this position. This isn't too bad. Now he stops to fire the ISU, and oh, okay, that was maybe a slight miscalculation. I mean, the first shell, if he zoomed in to actually get that shot, but anyway, he had the health, but it's a big chunk of hit points to lose. He's also now in an awkward position. Oh, this is not good. The T-43 behind him and the AP in front of him. Okay. I guess he fancies his chances more against the T-43 than the AP. Goes for the shot. It's not quite high enough a roll to actually kill the guy. But if the T-43, like, unless his ammo rack gets taken or his engine or something, it's fine. And as it turns out, the T-43 doesn't hit him at all. There's also a bunch more artillery splashes. So we know now that the other 25 AP and the T-43 are both easy one-shot kills. And it's, at this stage, I mean, he's onto his APCR. He had 2 clips of APCR, and he's decided to go with those for the extra penetration chance, I guess, the extra chance of killing these enemies, because this is crunch time. This is absolutely crunch time. They've just lost 1 artillery. He's down to 1 ally, and although these enemies are low health, there we go, takes out the BatChat. He's not doing so well health-wise himself. Any one of these artillery could completely cripple him, if not just kill him outright. So he really does have to stay in motion. And there's the T-43 who bounces. I think that might be his first bounce of the entire game. Not that he's taken a lot of hits. I mean, it really was just the ISU, and then he took a hit from the BatChat. But yeah, getting bounces in this thing is probably quite a rare occurrence. So I've sped up part of this this replay because we're down now to him on 7 kills versus 4 artillery. We could have some quite nice medals out of this if he pulls it off. So he approaches the northwest corner where you quite frequently find some arties. Spots the 2128, and there's the FE207 as well. And well, he could try his luck here. This is a bit iffy. I think he's spotted this guy. He's maybe more content to just try and let his allied artillery take a shot, and he does, but unfortunately it misses. So I'm going to speed things again, and as you can see, he's moving back towards the middle. There's still that Lefebvre somewhere. There's the GW. Not quite sure why the GW's there. It's not the usual place for an artillery, but he's in a position to be able to hit this guy without getting spotted himself. So, I mean, they could probably guess that he's here somewhere, but they wouldn't know specifically where his location is. So he's out of full clips at this point. He's going with his biggest remaining clip of ammo, which is the 4 APCR shells. I almost said APCL. APCL isn't a thing. And it's at this point that the Lafayette turns up at their own cap. So rather than just... I mean, I think maybe he was having the idea of getting onto the enemy cap because we're getting down on time now. There's only about 3 minutes left. But rather than leave this to RNGs, which most artillery duels typically do come down to, he decides to just go for it because there's a very good chance, even though it's, you know, tier 7 arty versus tier 5 arty, that tier 5 arty could quite easily kill the tier 7 arty. So he comes up behind the Lafayette. There we go, one easy shot there. Of course gets spotted in the process, but the chances of being hit by just that FV are probably fairly low at this point. And there we go, that one was probably quite a hastily taken shot to have landed that wide. So 2.5 minutes. Now this thing, I mean, it's reasonably fast, as you can see, but this is going to be cutting it quite tight if he wants to get to the cap to actually have a chance of capping in time, because it's just over a, or is it just under, or is it exactly a minute and a half? I think it's a minute and a half exactly. I don't know why I'm saying just over or just under. I don't know. I was going for the statistical average there or something. That's my excuse. So yeah, I mean, he's going to just manage it. He's got about less than 15 seconds leeway. But of course, if he gets reset by the enemy artillery, then that's it. However, of course, on airfield, both cap circles have a lot of cover. I think it's one of the few maps where there is quite this much cover still inside a cap circle. There's one or two other cap circles with destructible cover, but this has to be by far the most. So anyway, that guy's fired, just took a blind shot, and I think Frosty's just taunting him at this point, just knocking down a bunch of things, saying, "Haha, I'm here. You could have had me, but no." So there we are, an ace mastery, 3.8k damage, which is, you know, I'm sure I've got higher damage replays for this thing, but it's the medals that are particularly impressive. He's got a Pascucci's, a Pools medal, Top Gun of course, a High Caliber, and an Invader medal, which is not half bad. That's a pretty nice collection of medals for any game. 1381 base XP to go with that. The next place on the team was actually that Lorraine artillery, of all things. And as you can see, because he shot most of his premium ammo, he didn't walk away with a profit, but it was still quite close. I mean, he did enough damage. It wasn't like he was wasting shells especially, but he only lost a little bit. So that was a really quite close match there. I mean, he came back from against the odds, and he had a good machine to do it in any auto loader. If you can survive to the late game and come up against low health enemies that you can easily take out en masse with your clip, that makes for a powerful combination. But with all those artillery, it was a little bit risky, a little bit hairy at times. So it could easily, with an unlucky hit, have just ended very prematurely. But no, Frosty stayed true to his name. He stayed Frosty, and he was able to walk away with the win. So hopefully you have enjoyed this replay, and if you have, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can sub to my channel if you haven't already, and as always, stay tuned for more.